You have obviously seen some art galleries and you're wandering around the retail world and wonder what it's really involved in starting an art gallery. Susie and I have owned a couple of them and have learned quite a bit about how to do that. This series of videos will detail many of the important issues you will need to consider before you jump into the pond. We will go over many topics in these and we'll make one at the end which will show all the topics in one long video. But we will publish these in numerous numbered parts. At the end of each one, you'll be able to jump to the next one or jump to the entire long one. Definitely hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay tuned into these if you're interested in knowing many of the things necessary to open your own art gallery. Your own art gallery. It is certainly a fun and exciting business where you meet some very interesting artists and clients. Whether it is a small gallery or a much larger one, let us share some of our experiences. The business is very volatile in terms of how one month you do very well and the next month it might cost you overhead dollars. But if you plan properly, you will succeed and enjoy the business. It really is a fun enterprise if you like to put in the effort. Here are some questions we'll go over. Numerous other topics after these, so buckle up and let's get started. What research should you do before you jump into the water? How much money does it take? How to sell art? How complex are the bookkeeping and inventory management tools you need? Location, location, and location. And many more issues you will need to consider before you sign on the dotted line and start your fun escapade. This first part is just an overview of what is coming, so stay tuned and watch for the next one. Thanks for watching, and we hope this helps you figure this out. Thank you. Part 2, let's talk about monthly overhead and what kind of startup expenses these cost. Once you select a location and start adding up what you need to get going, it can be daunting at first. Ideally, you want a space which has already been a gallery or a decent retail space. Lighting is vitally important. LED fixtures are a must, and they save you big monthly electrical expenses. Adding lighting can be very expensive, and you have to deal with the electrical code inspector. You want to avoid this pitfall, so get a place that already has good lighting. Your furnishings do not have to be expensive. Of course, nice Persian carpets and nice tables, chairs, and desks can cost a bundle, but look for bargains. Then there is signage. Signs are expensive. Shop around, but do not forget that a bad sign is a sign of bad business. You want to find a good sign person who can not only get your main sign together, but who also can help you with any interior signage. They might ask you if you have a logo. Hiring a designer to design your logo can be another expensive prospect, but with today's computers and graphics programs, generally you can do it yourself or at least get someone for much less to design it. Now let me lay out the typical monthly expenses we accumulated. Take your time looking over this as it gets a bit tricky to grasp it all at first. I will lay out per month numbers based on really how much your rent is. In other words, the more you rent, the more your expenses are going to go up all across the board. A smaller space can cost you less per month, obviously, but a bigger space will gain you more traffic and business, possibly. I include a brief spreadsheet above here on the screen showing the difference between the two in a range of expenses. Stop the video if you want to study this further. And don't forget you will have startup expenses. The landlords typically want a month in advance along with your first month rent and maybe even a security deposit or even what they call key money, which is another way they get you. Bottom line is you'll need to spend anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a month, plus your startup expenses, which could easily run you another $18,000 to $55,000. So let's say you're on a rent hook lease for 2 years. Your expenses will run you $140,000 to $750,000. You better plan on selling some art. It's not an inexpensive game. I find the general rule of thumb is to have available at least your expenses money before you begin, and that does not include any paychecks to yourself. Say you need another $150,000 over the 2 years to live on, you better have enough cash available. I would recommend, if you plan on a $12,000 a month rent factor over the first 2 years, you really should have about $1 million of cash or credit available. After 2 years, you will know how well you're doing. In fact, you're going to know it a lot sooner. Within 6 months, you're going to have a real good idea of how fast you're going through your cash based on the offset, which is the sales. Study this every month and get a good bookkeeper you trust. $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but bear in mind we've had months where we took in $75,000 against $20,000 in overhead. A well-run and properly capitalized gallery can earn $500,000 a year if the creek don't rise and the woodshed don't burn down. Take your time looking over this basic spreadsheet. It's certainly not what an accountant will show you, but it just summarizes what the various are ways of looking at how your monthly expenses are going to accumulate. As you see, rent $2,000 in a column there, or rent way up to $12,000 in a column there. So look this over, take your time, back it up if need be, and we'll look at the next section. Thanks. The next part is research. You have to go check out the competition. Attend openings and just meet and greet as many other galleries before you decide if this deal is the one you want to pursue. You will hear all kinds of misleading stories, and you will hear many tidbits of great information. Collect business cards of the people you meet and thank them for their input. A simple thank you note goes a long way in establishing a great relationship with somebody in the business that you will want to stay in contact with. Put together a series of good questions to ask. Just some of the topic headlines in these how-to videos will make you some great questions to begin your hunt. Go online and see how they are social media broadcasting. Look over their website and give it a rating in your page of notes about this gallery for future reference. Staple their business card to a page and fill out the pages so you can easily add to your information later and add some new contacts. Okay, let's talk about artists. When you're on their website, just note some of the better artists that appeal to you. They will probably have their own website or at least a Facebook page, message, or email out. Simple message of something like this: we are opening a new gallery and saw your work at XYZ Gallery. Impressive work. Would you be interested in telling us what your experience with this gallery or other galleries you have exhibited with over the years? We find artists are the best way to see which galleries are hot and which ones are not. Naturally, we will keep any comments very confidential and will not share your opinions with anyone else. We are just researching where we want to set up our new operation, and your opinions will help us. Please respond. Something like that will probably get some good response by artists that are a little more serious and interested in helping you. You might have to send out many of these to various artists, but you can get back some very helpful tips and stories of the local art market. Save the text and simply copy and paste it into the message or email to save time for the next artist. Do not act like you're wanting to show their work or might tell their gallery that someone is trying to steal some of their artists. Just focus on their opinions about the art market and how well they are doing. If you do eventually set up a gallery, they might actually contact you down the road and develop a great relationship if you are polite and respectful. Realtors. Okay, you have a particular area where there are a number of other galleries. If you see any for lease signs, call them and find out what they have in mind. Realtors will tell you some mumbo-jumbo number about how much the space leases per square foot. Yeah, right. How many square feet is it and how much is it per month? That's all you really want to know. Is it a triple net lease where you have to pay all the costs and repairs, or will they cover those? Is there a common maintenance fee? They call that a CAM fee, common area maintenance fee, per month added to the rent. Ask who owns the building if possible. Ask how long it has been vacant. And if they say it was just vacated, ask around to the neighbors and see if the realtor is on the up and up. Commercial realtors are notorious about never picking up their phone and seem to be very remiss in returning phone calls, so you have to persist. You may have to call them a number of times before they respond. If it is being leased by the owner, that is a little different. They can be easier to deal with or sometimes even cagier. Make sure you sound like you are ready to do business and keep your ears open and speak less. They will walk you through your options easier this way. They may ask all kinds of questions about how deep your pockets are and if you've ever had another gallery. They might ask for references even before they spill the cost beans. Be prepared for both the owners and the realtors. You might just try calling someplace you know you would not want first to get a general feel for how they will treat you. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and experience helps out. Other research. Finders. Sometimes you might run into somebody who tells you they help people find their new space. These characters generally charge what they want and can be great or a waste of money. They might claim they know all the property owners or landlords in the area, and if you sign up with them, you will get the best space available. My experience with these guys has been both good and bad. One wanted us to pay him up front a finder's fee of some figure that I thought was way too high. Another wanted the first month's rent as a finder's fee. Another said his efforts were completely paid for by the property owner or the landlord, but we discovered he and the landlord were jacking up the rent. Be wary of these guys, but do not just think they are worthless. You have to simply trust your own judgment, and hopefully you will find one who will treat you right. Another way to find a space is to simply ask the galleries if they know of any other spaces in the area that might be coming available. Of course, they will tell you some other gallery is not doing well, and they could soon be leaving. Go talk to that gallery and ask them if they're interested in you taking over their space or even lease. They might surprise you, but be aware many landlords do not let a tenant sublease. So you might have to go before the landlord, negotiate the new deal with permission of the current tenant, and preferably with their encouragement. Okay, enough about the research here. More as these videos continue. You simply have to do your research. Ask your friends, ask your banker, ask anybody if they have any other research ideas you should do before taking the big dip. Location, location, location. Let's talk about location. You might look at how strong the art market is in your city. Of course, New York, Santa Fe, Chicago, San Francisco, Miami, Los Angeles, many other cities have art districts where there are many galleries. That is what you're looking for. Why are all the new car dealers bunched up next to each other? You want traffic, and in an art district, you get much better traffic during the openings than if you're off the beaten path. You might find a perfect space in a strip mall or in an area which seems to have a lot of walk-by traffic. That might work, but go for the better odds. The art districts really do generate more business. Then there is the question of where in that art district is the best traffic. We started a great gallery on Upper Canyon Road in Santa Fe. We were right next to a very high-end restaurant and numerous other galleries immediately around us. It seemed like a great spot, and the landlord was a generous and kind soul. But after 2 years there, we saw the parking issues were terrible. We saw the customers at the high-end restaurant rarely came in before or afterwards to see our art. The man next door had some big issue about anyone parking or even using his driveway. We were on the south side of the street, so in winter, people would walk up on the other side of the street to be in the sun. We loved the space, but it became clear we needed a different spot. Down at the beginning of Canyon Road was a fabulous, much bigger spot with even a beautiful sculpture garden. We watched the traffic down there a few times, and it was obvious that the better traffic was down there. Only costing us about 3 times the monthly overhead, we leased the space. The neighbors around there were fabulous, and immediately there was a lot more traffic. The first 30 days, we sold an unbelievable amount of work, so we felt we had made the right move. Unfortunately, the landlord was a difficult man to deal with. The common area maintenance fees were impossibly marked up beyond any reasonable amounts. He was rude to our staff and certainly did little to help us out. He even required us to take the space with no improvements, which it needed forthwith. Still, after the first month, we felt we had made a good choice. Our overhead increased at least threefold, and it became a big game of chasing expenses every month. After another 2 years, the landlord made some vague references that the rent would be increased, now that we were all set up and running a successful operation. We were lucky we only signed up for a 2-year lease, as some of the other tenants there were on a 5-year and 10-year leases, which killed them after the pandemic began. We were lucky. We left right before it became so unbelievably scary from the total lack of tourist traffic once COVID hit. Location is very, very important. You have to ask a lot of questions to anyone you can find who might have some ideas. The next part is, how do you find artists? If you plan on selling just your own work, then you will keep all of the net sale. That is the sale price minus framing costs, materials, and credit card processing fees. You would add the boxing and shipping cost and sales tax if required to the sale, and maybe even a certificate of origin fee. I find it easier to just quote a selling price that includes all of this, so include these expenses on top of the price you quote. More about pricing and sales in that section ahead. Now, if you're going to show other artists, how do you find them? You have to have inventory when you open, so this is one thing you need to really focus on. You go to art fairs. You go to other galleries and ask questions. You contact artists and ask them if they might want to go along with the new gallery. It is not bad, and as soon as you do open, you will have numerous artists just walk in and ask you if you are looking for their type of work. Of course, you need to focus on what kind of work you want to sell, but your taste will quickly determine that. This work is called consigned work from artists. The general way is that you split what you're going to sell the work for with the artist. You get 50% and pay only for the work when it does sell. But you must know that fast-paid artists is definitely very proper. If you wait more than a month after a sale to pay an artist, your reputation will suffer greatly, and the word will definitely get around. Fast cash equals fast friends. Pay as soon as you know the work is well received and shipped, or if they take the work with them at the time of the sale, pay the artist as soon as you know the money has cleared your bank. Simple. Drag it out a month and you will have unfriendly artists. It is a sign that a gallery is in trouble when they get behind paying the artists. The best way is to only show framed work, unless you also want to run a framing shop. The artists know this, and if the frames are not up to your standards, tell the artists they need to change the frames out to something that like you recommend. Sculpture is different. You have to get to know sculpture. It helps to even go to the sculpture studio and see how they work, gaining you more familiarity with the artist. They are in charge of moving the piece into your gallery and removing it when it doesn't sell. You set it up where you want, but they generally always help you get it set up. Bronze and marble work sell the best. Assemblages can be problematic. Wooden sculptures can work, but you have to make sure the work is built well enough that the piece is not going to split or the finish deteriorate too quickly. Glass work is also very popular. There are many glass artists around, and there's probably a glass foundry somewhere near you where you can see a variety of glass artists. You have to handle it with care as glass breaks, and if you have to understand you have care, custody, and control of a piece, so that it breaks in your gallery for any reason beyond just some flaw in the production, then you pay for it, what the artist wanted. Other types of work sells: jewelry, knickknacks, whirligigs, scarves, postcards, and even posters. Just be careful that if you're selling high-end paintings and sculpture, you do not look like some junk shop with inexpensive baloney. Jewelry should be in cases, and you have to have insurance to carry jewelry, separately from just art, apparently as a separate add-on to your policy. Your agent will tell you all about this. In this next section, we're going to talk about several things: credit card processing, your website, how to take decent photographs of the art you're going to carry, and most importantly, how to track your inventory. Let's talk about first credit card processing. There are numerous companies that will hound you about accepting their credit card systems. Your bank might suggest the one they recommend, but you can probably do better. We have used the Cube, C-U-B-E service and are quite pleased with it. They track your charges well and send you an email after the sale to confirm the transaction. They charge, I think, about 3.9% last time I checked. You might find a better deal out there, so shop around first. You can specify to your consignee artist that you pay on the net sale after the processing fee. Of course, also after the sales tax, or a certificate of origin, or the shipping fees taken off the sale. They get paid on their net of 50%. Some artists claim that charging for the half of the processing fee is unfair, but if that happens, just give it to them, as it's really not that much. More about this on the How to Bargain section coming up. Next thing, let's talk about our websites. You must have a website and participate in social media. This is critical. Your website is a must, and it is far better if you make it and edit it yourself. Hiring it out can cost you plenty, $5,000 and up. Plus, you hire it out, then you have to get it updated regularly, so you have an ongoing expense. If you learn how to do it yourself, it's simple to update. You need a logo, a domain name, and a company to host the website. I use HostMonster, but there are many. You can get your domain name there, and they cost less. You need pictures of the artwork you will show. You need a simple, what's called a front page with these pictures and link pages for the various artists. It helps to have your contact information on the front page and some pictures of the team and the owners and more information about your gallery. Of course, you need a Contact Us button to link them to your email. They click on it, bingo, they're going to send you an email. A map and links to your social media are also important. All in all, it should take about 30 hours to get your website up and running. On HostMonster, they have a downloading version of a system called WordPress, which a lot of people use, and they even offer support to help you walk through the process. I like HostMonster, been with them for years. If you call them and reach somebody who does not speak enough clear English, call back and find somebody there who will be your helper. More about your pictures in the next part on photography. Okay, photography. Photography used to be a very tricky deal. You had to hire a photographer to get your photos all to your standards. But today it's so much easier. Your smartphone will become your best friend. What I find as being completely adequate is to simply use my phone and shoot at the high resolution setting. I then download the picture onto my computer and open it up in a photo editing program. It's usually about 25 inches wide, so it's a huge picture. I prefer to use Corel Photo over Adobe Photoshop, as I've been using Corel for many years, and it is reliable and easy to use. I then resize the picture down to a smaller size, and I cut out the picture out of the background, easy to do, and then paste it to a new page. Then square it up, tweak the contrast, lighting, and lightness and darkness as needed. I save it as a 4-inch wide pic at about 300 dots per inch, or DPI. Then I save it in my JPEG picture file, and all the art images go into that file. I find filing them by the artist's last name so that all of the one artist pics are in one area of that file. Easiest to do it that way. With the JPEG or JPG picture, you can load it onto your website easily or onto any social media post. Save the much larger picture on your phone if you ever want to send it to a potential client, a big shot of the piece, or to zoom in on the frame or the signature. Rarely is it ever requested, as a smaller one usually suffices. Another shot of the back might also be good to have in your phone if ever needed, but I've never had to send one. It is real easy to download pictures from your phone onto your computer. Again, I file them by the artist's last name to keep things easier to retrieve. The photo editing programs are easy to learn, so just remember to think ahead and save the pics consistently into the correct file. Next, I want to talk about inventory. This is a big one. You have got to stay on top of your inventory. You can make big money on some gallery, you can pay big money on some gallery management software they claim makes all of your computer work much easier. I bought a $4,500 program years ago thinking it sounded great, but quickly learned the program was so vast and so complex that no one could remember how to use it properly. We struggled with it and finally gave up. You need a set of photo files, you need your inventory files, and you need a record of your sales and expenses. I'll talk first about the inventory files, and I'm going to show you up on the screen a sample of the spreadsheet headings that go across the top of the spreadsheet, which I think is, if you can think of any more you need, then put them in there, but this is a pretty thorough list. It becomes a rather wide spreadsheet, and certainly one that takes quite an effort to assemble, especially with the pictures. I use bigger type on the copy to have a larger space for the picture. Simple enough. Okay, it uses up more paper to print it out, but when you are looking for a piece, sometimes you can't remember the title, so the picture helps spot it. Once you get it done, print out a copy and keep it confidential, not allowing anyone else to see the true costs, obviously. You can always put a column way over to the right, a few more columns, in case you pull it out in front of someone you do not want to show the cost. Now, the pictures. Just copy and paste the one from your picture file into the cell for the picture in your spreadsheet, and grab the corners to resize it to fit inside that box. It's a small picture, but it's big enough to spot it on the page. If you need to blow it back up later, when you think you found the right one and you have the spreadsheet open, you can always easily pull up the corner and see a bigger version of the picture. But remember to shrink it back down before you save the inventory sheet and put it away. That way, if it gets resorted, it's going to stay with the right row. I use the artist name in the first column to lump them all together when you begin looking for a piece. When you do a sort alphabetically, All of the artist pieces are all in one group. Generally, remembering the title is always a struggle, and you have to get back up from the desk, go find the piece to see the label, and sort it out by the artist's name first. Always a better deal. You can also add a column to where the piece is hung in the gallery if needed. For instance, like back room on west wall, BR/WW. You can come up with your own code to find it, but it's nice to have it on the sheet to know exactly where it is in the gallery, unless, of course, you've moved it. This inventory sheet is absolutely vital once you get it going. Without it, things get scary when a client comes in and you have to get a bill of sale together so they can pay you and take the piece. And at that point, you can enter the client information, the selling price, and whatever. Very important to stay on top of your inventory. And if the bank wants to know how's your inventory, you can easily print out a copy of it and hand it to them. Okay, those three subjects, I can't talk enough more about them, but this is plenty. The next section, we're going to talk about sales sheets and a lot of other stuff. So stay tuned and keep going. This next section, we're going to talk about the sales sheet, what you need to fill out when you sell a piece of art, and keeping track of expense sheets, and also with how to pay the staff if you have help. A simple way to just have a copy of your sales form on your computer desktop with your gallery information and the basics is essential. I will show a simple example here on the screen that is easy to use. You make it, put it up, and then you can click on it and drop it into, edit it and bring the information into it that you need. You print out copies you need and save the page into your monthly sales file. You have a stack of them every month that you would give to your accountant. Take that stack of sales sheets to figure commissions, if needed, to your sales staff whenever you need to pay them. Staple a copy of the receipt from the credit card machine. If the sales associate is due a commission, make sure you put their name on the bottom. You give the bookkeeper these sheets at the end of the month along with your expense sheets. After the clients leave, you can add the information to the inventory list. Very important and easily forgotten. If you have a director, that should be his job, not the sales staff. Very important. Put that information into the inventory sheet so you know the piece is sold and who purchased it. Okay, expense sheets. You need a bank account with checks unless you can pay your bills online to everyone. That is not easy. Never works. You're always going to have to write some checks. So get a 3-ring binder checkbook, 3 checks per page. You write your checks to your landlord, you write checks to your staff, you write a few checks to various other vendors who do not want to accept a credit card. You simply give the check stubs to your accountant every month and they determine your expenses from your bank account. And when they have their monthly accounting done, they send all the information back to you. You need a company credit card. Very important. You get a statement every month from them or download it online. Carefully go through it and mark what various charges are. Office supplies, shipping boxes, miscellaneous expenses. You hand this also to your bookkeeper and he has all he needs. No reason to make a complex double entry ledger system. You just have expense sheets, you have sales sheets, and you give him the bank account and credit card statement. Simple. He takes care of it. He produces a profit and loss statement for you every month. Maybe even a statement of your balance sheet. Okay, paying the staff. Let's say you have a couple of part-time sales staff. You pay them an hourly wage plus some percentage of every sale. On the sales sheets, you would see who sold what. You add up their hours they worked and add their commissions and give your bookkeeper the total gross wages. It's easier that he figures out the taxes needed to be taken out and email you back the amounts to write paychecks. It's much easier this way. Doesn't take him very long to do it, and he's been doing it for other businesses, so he knows where all the information is on what to take out for taxes. We pay twice a month, not twice or once every 2 weeks, but twice a month, the 1st and the 15th. I would send the information to the bookkeeper a day or so before, and he would send me back the net amounts for the paychecks when they were due. Simple. If anyone asked for their deductions, their taxes taken out, I could also request that to be sent back too. Paying the director. We found paying a gallery director on salary was much easier. He also earned commissions on his sales, and you can even reward him some of the commissions paid to the sales staff as negotiated up front. That eliminates any friction about who sold what and makes the director make sure the paperwork is handled correctly. Sometimes the director is off at 5, let's say, and a part-time sales staff is there until 8, and the part-timer sells a piece. Well, the director still gets a cut of it, so he's going to make sure that the paperwork gets handled correctly when it comes in the next day. Okay, pay in general. We found good pay means you get better help. For the salespeople, we paid an hourly wage, which at the time was $15 an hour. They also earned bonus commission on every sale they were in charge of. The director only worked 40 to 50 hours a week. So when he was not there, the part-time sales staff had to complete the sales to his standards and, of course, yours. Sometimes on opening nights, we had to stay later than normal because we had lots of traffic. The sales staff made money, and if the director had to be off that night, he still made a little. But generally, the director wanted to be there, despite however many hours he'd worked that week, as the commissions were very good. Most galleries pay some small percentage for commissions, say 5% of the gross sale. We found paying 10 to 20% was better, as it definitely encouraged stronger efforts and was well worth it. We also had what are called thresholds, where if they sold some amount of gross sales, their commission was bumped up another 5% or so. If you want great help, pay them. It is well worth it. The paperwork for running a gallery is easy. You just have to get used to what you need and oversee it and stay on top of it. Sure, you take time off, but you always are aware of what deadlines you need to focus on, just like when employment taxes are due or when you have to be there for an opening. Just be consistent and remember to keep it easy. Sales training is vital. You must train your staff to sell in the way you want to run your business. Whether you are running and selling everything in your gallery or hiring staff to sell, sales training is critical. Just look at how many galleries do it. Very few. You walk into a gallery and see some young staffer sitting behind a desk watching his computer screen like he's in the middle of a video game. He looks up and blurts out, "If you have any questions, be sure and ask." His head drops and you walk around to survey the work. If nothing captures your attention, you leave. He goes back to his video game or nap, and the gallery plods along unprofitably. Amazingly, this really is how most galleries do it. No sales training, no expectations of the staff, as they think of themselves as just babysitters, somebody to watch the store while the owners are gone. That is absolutely suicide. I used to manage a large new car dealership in the 1980s. We hired an expert trainer to come in and spend a week with us for a modest fee of only $10,000. He was absolutely incredible. It improved our sales dramatically the first month and was well worth every cent we paid him. One thing he taught us was that if you ask good questions, you are perceived as a good listener. So let's look at a scenario of a good salesperson and what they should say to get the best and most results. I put up here on the screen some great tips, so listen to how this works if you want to sell more art. You're not in business to just bide your time, you're there to really try to sell art. This is serious selling. You may think it's too stark and not enough chummy, but you will come off as a serious salesperson and gain your clients' respect. We have tested this and added and subtracted to it many times until we found this series of actions and tips work the best. Before you let a salesperson out on the floor, insist that they memorize this, rehearse it many times, and walk you through their delivery. Suddenly, your new salesperson sounds like a pro. Take your time going over this. Back up the video and listen to it several times. Heck, take a picture of the screen, stopped, and print out a copy. You can turn an amateur into a professional salesperson in just a couple of hours if they follow this advice. Pricing the artwork. Pricing is tricky. You price your work where you think it will sell, of course. Look at your market and see other prices and what work is similar to yours. Price your work to be competitive but close to what the market seems to you. Over time, you will figure out what work sells and what prices work the best. If you are selling the work of other artists, this gets tricky too. Okay, the artist wants 50% of the sale price as the standard in most galleries. Explain to the artist that you will price the work at a price higher, 250 to 300% of what they need to net. That way you have some negotiating room, and tell them that they will split 50-50 whatever you net. Whenever an artist gets more than that, more than they were hoping for, you get a very, very happy artist. Bargaining. Let's look at how to bargain. Someone zeroes in on a couple of pieces for their home or office and makes you an offer for one of them. First of all, if the offer is less than 70% of the retail price, generally they are just blowing smoke and are not serious. If they are serious and offer you some price close to what you're asking, ask them back if they are sure that is their favorite piece. They might divert your eyes to another piece. Ask them if they would consider both pieces at a great price. They will suddenly think that possibly you are right, as they do like both of them. They say, "How much?" Mention the sales tax, the shipping costs, mention certificates of origin, very important, and they will ask you about what these are. Certificates of origin. These are documents that come from a company called artownership.com and list all the details. They get 2 copies, one for their files and another gets placed in the back of the piece, so that years from now, when they pass on the piece through their children or someone else, they can see where and when the piece was purchased, making that particular piece seem more valuable than some other where there is no documentation. These cost about $50 to the client. They cost you half that and are a great extra source of income for the gallery. You go to artownership.com and give them the details on the form you want to provide. They send you back a JPEG page that you print out copies of and attach one to the back of the piece between the stretcher and the canvas. You mail them the other copy for their files and get another reminder in the mail of how much you care about their purchase. They really do work, and there is an outside source of information about the transaction that can be accessed by you or the client only at a later date for whatever reason. If you go out of business, the client always has access to the information and no one else. But they have a hard copy in their file, and there's a piece stuffed into the back of the painting. Okay, you quote the client a price for both pieces and the final cost. They might try to weasel you down some, but say, let's do an Indian split, or you can call it a Moroccan split, or an Italian split, whatever you want to call it. Well, let's do a Indian split. Who knows what that is? You come back at some price halfway or better than halfway for you. They generally are stumped at what an Indian split is and say, okay, write them up. So maybe they just want one piece. Just employ the same tactics for the one piece as you would for the pair or the group. Let's talk about labels. I asked many galleries about this topic. Do they display the price or not? We found yes, indeed, display the prices. When you inventory the work, You have the information right in front of you. Use label Avery paper and type in the information. Name of piece, artist name, medium, size, and price. Simple enough. But then copy the picture from the spreadsheet, which is already small, into the inventory file, or from the inventory file, and paste it on the side of the label. Then cut out some foam core and stick the label on. Use gallery putty to adhere the label to the wall beside the piece. It doesn't peel the paint. Believe me, this system works because when you move the piece to some other area of the gallery and you cannot remember where it was before, that picture on the label really helps. It is amazing how often that happens, and the little picture speeds up that process. When you sell the piece, stick that label onto a dry erase board in the office to show you which pieces sold this month. Don't forget to make a file for all the labels, as inevitably some get lost, and make it easy to simply print out a new one. At the end of the month, take down the sold labels and put them in a shoebox with any other new foam core blanks that you've made, and reuse the older ones. Just slap on a new label. One sheet of foam core can make many, many blanks. The gallery putty, it's that sticky putty you find at the craft store and is inexpensive. It's called gallery putty. Next, we're going to talk about gallery openings. Let's talk about gallery openings. Some smaller art markets only have gallery openings on the first Fridays. That is where you get much better traffic. In some markets, like Santa Fe on Canyon Road, many galleries have openings every Friday night. We did it, and it was generally the busiest time. You can focus on just one special artist, or perhaps he or she can attend to answer questions and act like an important artist. If you're showing that artist all month, then maybe have one special opening, and the other Fridays just be open late and make it look like an opening. Some galleries go way out to make all sorts of refreshments and tidbit treats. If you offer wine, make sure you can do it. You might have to have a vendor bar that does openings come in and set up, depending on the local laws and restrictions. You have to have a guard to guard against underage people, and you can get fined if you do not watch that carefully. Some cities require a special one-time license for liquor and for liquor served at the openings. So you better ask other galleries about how the local police and restrictions handle this. You will get some regulars that always show up for the free food and drinks. They are not buyers. You just have to endure this, as you cannot exactly tell them to move along, as they might know some of the real shoppers. The quality of treats is another issue. Whenever we had expensive little treats, or when we just had veggie platters, no one ever complained. I asked many galleries about this, and most who had been doing it for years said the less expensive route was the way to go. I never had a client complain that we were too cheap to put out the good stuff. Another trick is to serve non-alcoholic champagne. It's fairly inexpensive, and many people never realize it. I had some elderly lady once tell me that she'd had enough when I offered her another glass. She said she was already tipsy. Very funny. It does help to promote the event in the local paper, in the weekend event guide, and even in social media. We also had a sign that said gallery opening tonight on a piece of signed coroplast that we hung up outside. It always grabbed a few more eyeballs. People walking up and down the street, seeing the sign, thought, oh, I need to go in there. Another thing to consider, the holiday events. Depending on your market, there might be special events planned around certain holidays. We discovered on Christmas Eve they would close Canyon Road at 5 to car traffic, and a parade of various bands and marchers came up the street to celebrate the night. We soon discovered huge numbers of people came to the event. We had over 1,000 people in the gallery on Christmas Eve night, and we sold more work than ever before during those 5 hours. Holiday events can be very, very big, or they can be a complete bust. Then there is Halloween. The children all got dressed up and came in droves to beg for candy. Of course, we also dressed up a bit and made a very fun evening out of the event. Although it was great fun, there were few buyers of art, but the supplies of candy certainly diminished. The point is that some events are just plain fun, and it's really not just about making money. Next, I want to talk about advertising. If you have plenty of traffic, you start thinking that there should not be any need to advertise. Then the traffic slows down and you realize you need to get after promoting your gallery. You learn to always be focused on promotion. One of the easiest ways is to examine your Facebook postings. The experts all say to post every day, or at least frequently post new artists, post openings, post pictures of some big groups of people in the gallery. Make sure your Facebook presence looks fresh and always invigorating. It's free and easy. We had our director work on it daily, but then I had to bring in my own ideas and add some different approaches. Facebook offers to boost posts. It is a very complicated thing to study your market with, but well worth researching. Which people do you want to target? How much should they spend? How often to boost? The ads are inexpensive, but you can spend much, much more to gain a bigger audience. You need to budget a monthly amount to just do Facebook. Respond to positive posts through Messenger, and always respond. Use the first name in your brief thank you back to them. Change up your targeted audiences, and especially if you're getting much more out-of-town online activity. However, the online activity is never as strong as the walk-in traffic. Sure, you will get some selling online activity, but you also must constantly be monitoring your website for improved changes. Another easy advertising method is a simple postcard that's placed around and are giveaways. People collect these, and you will be surprised how many get picked up. You can go to various online publishing companies to see their postcard size offers. Ask around to other galleries if there is a local printer who runs these at the end of some big commercial run. Sometimes you can find some real deals, as these local printers want these small runs to fill out a big order of paper printing. Check with the post office to find out the largest size of postcard that can still carry the lesser expensive postage. Then make yours this size. You might decide to have an opening focusing on one particular artist. Sometimes you can get them to pay for the postcard and even the postage, and sometimes offer a 50-50 deal. They pay half, you pay half. Of course, you never want to take advantage of some of your poor starving artists, so sometimes you better bear the entire cost of the cards and the postage. You can also find a company that sells good mailing lists of the higher income clients in your area or wherever. These generally carry very good results. A list can cost several $100s or more, but you can use them numerous times until you begin to see how many are coming back as undeliverable. Then you have to purge your list. People move, and often the marketing lists do not handle everything accurately. We would typically get some 500 postcards for an opening or a new artist, using half to mail out and leaving the rest for the gallery giveaways. This was a good way to benefit from the postcards. Okay, how do you lay out the postcards to get the best results? Of course, by this point, you've learned enough about some graphics and editing software like Photoshop or CorelDRAW to lay out what you want. Use the drawing program to lay it out, and then copy it over to the photo editing program and save the file as a JPG, at 300 dpi dots per inch and the size you want. You can then email the file to your printing source, and they get them coming soon. As I've said, we've used CorelDRAW and Corel Photo. We found these completely adequate to do all of our graphics work, including making our logo, our selling forms, or everything else we needed, including our business cards. Of course, there are numerous other software programs like Adobe, but use the one you know and keep working with it as you do get better at this task. Then there are the newspaper ads. I never saw many results from these. Radio and television ads are considerably expensive, and we never saw the value in using those. Some bigger art market cities have numerous magazines that are distributed to the hotels. If there are these in your city, you will know soon as the sales reps will be there calling on you in droves. You can do a small quarter-page ad or a full-page ad. You can even buy the back cover page. Get ready, these are expensive. We knew a gallery that was buying the back page of one of the Santa Fe tourist drags and was paying $30,000 a month for it. Did it help that gallery, and was it successful? It must have been, as he stayed in business doing it for some number of years. Be careful how you spend your money on these, and obviously they can become quite expensive. One of the least inexpensive and effective ways is to advertise through your email campaigns. These are called e-blasts. Importantly, whenever you sell a piece, or even if someone wants you to send them a picture of one of your artworks, you carry one of the artworks you carry, capture that email and add it to your email list. Your typical email program limits how many of these you can send out per day. The way around this is using some company like Constant Contact. You can send many emails out and choose how many per day you need. They also store your email files for you. The email go out as a BCC, which means no one can see who else you're sending the email to. Even if your basic email program like Outlook allows you to BCC, you need to be very careful that you don't expose your list to the public. You can cut and paste some 100 email addresses into a small marketing letter as a BCC in your basic email plan. The ones that are undeliverable because the people no longer have that address come back as undeliverable, and you will need to purge your list frequently. Whether you are using some company like Constant Contact or another, these can be wonderfully easy and a very inexpensive way to get your marketing for a special opening or just an announcement of your operation out there. It was something our director worked on daily. Capturing the email addresses, the sales staff has to do. You have to train them to take the email addresses. You have to remind them constantly if they got the email address when they talk to someone. Persistence pays off, though. In no time, you have hundreds of valid email addresses and are in business with your email marketing e-blast campaigns. The e-blast email should be fairly simple. A simple page with some photo of your gallery or of the work you are focusing on is simple. You want to add some text about the event and who you are. Definitely add your website, and as it will show up as an easily clickable link. They just click on and jump to your website. Of course, you can buy ad space in some of the major national ad drags, but this gets very expensive. Imagine the cost of a back cover of art in America. Great broadcast, but unless you have deep pockets for this, be wary. Another simple way to keep it going is to simply send to every buyer a thank you email and begin a dialogue. You will find some people do want to stay in touch, and you will discover some new collector friends. I have some clients from 20 years ago who still connect with me, and we've become good old friends. Enough about advertising. This last section, I'm going to briefly talk about the appearance and upkeep of your gallery. People expect your gallery to be clean and organized. Look over desks and tables to make sure they're not covered with clutter. Look at the floors, and if it needs maintenance beyond just a sweep or vacuum, keep it nice. Look at your walls. Do they need a fresh coat of paint? Just walk around and ask yourself to look at it as some client would perceive it. Empower your director to stay on top of it. If no director, make sure you are constantly looking how to improve it. Check the lighting. Are there any bulbs burned out? Are the lights aimed at the artwork correctly? Are the labels level and looking fresh? Are the pictures level and hung at the right height? Look at your front door. Does it need a fresh coat of paint or does it need to be cleaned? If you have windows, are they clean and are there dead flies laying below? Keep your gallery as clean as you can because clients see this and react with disdain in a way you will never know. Your appearance. Look at the other galleries in your area and see what they are wearing. Dress for success. Some men definitely wear suits, but in more casual markets, nice jeans are fine. A sloppy t-shirt looks like you are failing. Whether a button-down shirt or some other nice shirt, make sure it is not all wrinkled. Break out the iron and look sharp. Women generally like to dress up more. Look at what is in style and what is not. You would not wear a bikini to a funeral, so think about how you look in public. Dress comfortably as you might have to stay at work all day when the traffic picks up. Wear comfortable shoes and be sure you can stand in them for hours at a time in some cases. You want your operation to look professional, well managed, and organized. Ask yourself every day if your gallery is together and if you are looking sharp. Think positively and never complain to your staff negatively. Never berate a staff member in front of others. Always pull them aside. Compliment the way they look and keep it on a professional basis. You will find success by looking successful. So make sure your appearance is alluring and manicured. In conclusion, this has been a very long essay video on how to have your own gallery. There are many things you have to consider before jumping into the deep end of this. Feel free to watch it again and stop it at any point to review what you have learned. Should you have any additional questions, feel free to email us and we will try to respond quickly. Our goal is to simply help others understand what experience has taught us and offer our help in getting you into a good place to make your efforts successful. We do appreciate your comments and hope you see the value of being forewarned of the many pitfalls of this industry. You can find our email information on our website, which is www.mccallfineart.com. Now please hit the like and subscribe buttons here as it does inspire us to delve deeper into some of the interesting and brilliant topics about art and the art industry. I am Preston McCall and I thank you for watching.